Hey, what's up, mobile gamers? Awall here. In this video, we're going to compare and contrast touchscreen phones versus controllers for mobile FPS games, and we're going to be debating this with Shadowgun War Games, a brand new 5v5 game that's very Overwatch-like. It's very smooth, it's very competitive in nature. I've played a couple hundred games on touchscreen on my iPhone 8 Plus on this game on iOS. Now I'm playing on my Nvidia Shield TV on this controller. We're going to be talking about the advantages and disadvantages of each control scheme. So I think that it's popular kind of thinking, I guess you could say, that controllers are better than touchscreens when it comes to aiming and when it comes to playing FPSs. And in fact, some people might say that it's unfair if you're able to play on a controller versus players that cannot play on a controller. And I'm just going to say out the gate, I'm not going to tease this or try to keep this, till later in the video or whatever, but I think that that's not true. I think that certain aspects of using a controller are better than using a touchscreen, and certain aspects of a touchscreen are better. So let me be more specific. So right now I'm using this controller, and in that situation that I was just playing in there, I had to aim down sights, and I had to be pretty accurate with a target that was medium to long distance away. Not easy to do with a controller. Precision aiming down sights is not easy to do with a controller, in my opinion. This is just my personal opinion, and I've played thousands of hours, you could say, of FPS games on a controller, Star Wars Battlefront games, and the whole nine. And I would say that on a controller, aiming down sights, sniping, medium to long distance altercations, very difficult to do on a controller. Whereas on a touchscreen, and with this specific game in particular, aiming down sights and being accurate with sniper and medium to long range was actually much easier. Now this is, I have like a mid to higher tier device with basically a 2K resolution screen, so I've got a lot of pixels, you could say, to work with to be able to have precision aiming on my touchscreen, but precision aiming was just straight up better on touchscreen on my iOS device. And so I think that that's a big pro that you have on touchscreens versus controllers. Now, a controller definitely has an advantage in that if you have a controller, you can move your screen away from you. So right now you can't see it, but I'm looking at a big, beautiful esports style monitor. If you're interested in buying an Nvidia Shield TV, there's a link in the description below. It's basically like an Android mobile gaming console, essentially. You can plug into your TV or your monitor, but the point is, if you're using a controller, you can move your monitor away from your face, whatever that monitor may be, whether it's your TV, a PC monitor that you plugged it in, or whether it's your phone that you've got set up on a little stand. You can move it away from your face, and you can move the actual screen you're playing on to an optimal distance away from your face if you're playing mobile FPS games or FPS games on or any mobile game on a controller versus your phone. And so I think that that's a significant convenience and advantage, especially for kind of competitive SPS games, in my opinion. You can kind of kick back, you can relax. I feel like there's going to be less eye strain, and I think that there's going to be, a better opportunity for you to be in the optimal, posture and all that good stuff that's required to be amazing at FPS games or competitive games of any description, where a controller is going to provide that to you, and a touchscreen isn't necessarily. Another pro that a controller has versus a touchscreen in any mobile game is that your controls are not all over your screen the whole time. So, and your fingers are not covering up the screen, literally covering the screen and the real estate that you need to see to be competitive. And that's something that, it's something that's huge. Like right now on the screen, you see those two blue icons at the bottom of the screen. Those are my abilities. But other than that, you don't have the movement kind of UI in the top. You don't have the aiming UI in the right-hand side, covering up the screen and really obscuring the content and the enemies and the things that you need to see. Wow, I just got one shot there by that player, that sniper. And the enemies and all the things you need to see to be effective. That's one thing that a controller definitely has over a touchscreen configuration that I think is a significant advantage. Now, here's another thing. I think that controllers also provide an advantage in terms of your using abilities. So you have all these buttons, right, that you can just easily press. You can use multiple fingers is basically what I'm trying to say, to be able to play a game, to use your abilities, and you aren't necessarily just using 2 thumbs. The only way that you can use multiple fingers on a touchscreen to play is if you have claw configuration. Oh, my grenade didn't hit him? Wow, that was a nice kill there. If you have claw configuration, where you're basically on top of your touchscreen device and you're using your fingers like that, you can use multiple fingers, but otherwise you can't. And so I think that that's a significant advantage of using a controller versus a touchscreen. So that's one thing to definitely keep in mind. So there's a lot of checkboxes for controller versus touchscreen that are there. But in things like FPS games, let's just talk about those for just a moment. In FPS games, what is the most important thing in terms of being competitive? And the most important thing is your aim. And like I mentioned earlier, touchscreens have better aim than controllers, just straight up. They just do. If the game is well optimized for controller, like that's if the game's not well optimized for touchscreen. If it's not well optimized for touchscreen, then whatever, and then we're not talking about that. But for games like Call of Duty Mobile or Shadowgun War Games or any other competitive mobile FPS games or ones that require a high level of accuracy, in order to be competitive, touchscreens are better. So checkbox to touchscreens. In terms of aim, the most important thing. Get up! No, he's not turning in the flag. He should be turning in the flag. He ran right. Oh, okay. No, he ran right by where he should be turning in that flag, right there. Whatever. So, long story short, I'd say that controllers have an advantage in almost every category versus touchscreens, with the exception of aim. And aim is the most important thing, especially for FPS games. So, which one's stronger? You let me know what you think in the description below. Personally, if I'm playing a sniper character or a mid to long range character, I'm pulling out my phone. I'm definitely not using a controller if I can help it. If I'm using any sort of close combat, assassin character, flanker character, tank, a controller is better for me. I'm able to use my abilities more effectively and pay attention to what's on the screen more effectively because there's not stuff in my way, essentially on my screen, like my fingers in the UI. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Controller versus touchscreen. The age-old debate, I guess. Is it unfair that people can use controllers? I don't think so. I actually think it's more or less equal. And it just depends on what activity you're doing. Cool. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more mobile gaming content, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios, amigos.